Hello, friends. Welcome to a new episode of Apple Coder. As promised last week, today we will look at how to add a text field to the toolbar so that you can change the website that you are viewing from the WebView controller itself. Instead of going back to the previous screen and then enter a new URL and then tap on load WebView, you would be able to load a new web page being in the WebView controller itself. Let's dive deep. So first we will add a text field. So let's create a text field and it's going to be of type UI text field. And then within the toolbar, we are going to we're going to create the text field. So select text field. And let's give it a frame. And the frame is going to be of size. So we will start it at position 10 because we have a left arrow displaying before the text field. So let's give it a space of 10 and then the y-axis will be 0, and for the width we will give it as the frame width, but we will cut down some size so that there is some nice padding. Let's say 50, and then the height we will set it to the same as the toolbar height, which is again 50. And then let's also add some uh, corner radius, and let's make the uh, surroundings of the text field a little more nicer. So let's change the corner radius to be something like 15, and then let's specify the border width. Let's specify it as 0.2, and then let's specify the background border color. Let's set it to be gray, and then let's also specify a background color. Let's give the background color as white. So now we have created a text field. Let's pass it on to the class object property. So we have created a text field. Let's make this a var so that because it's not known at the time of init. So let's create it as a var and let's make it as a nullable field. So now we have to go and create a text bar button item. So for that, create a text field bar item. So the UI bar button item has a property as an initializer where you can pass in your own custom view. So we will pass in the text field here. And now we have to add this text field bar item to the list of toolbar items. So now we are done with creating a text field and adding it to the toolbar. Next, when the user enters a URL on the text field and then he taps on enter, we want to capture the URL that is entered in the text field, and then we want to load that web view. So now we need to handle the enter key option on the text field. So for that, we will make this web view controller to be a text field delegate as well. And we will set the text field delegate to be self. Setting this as a delegate helps us in handling the return key option. So we have implemented the text field delegate to be self. So now we will implement the text field should return function. And if we return true, then the default behavior will take place. And if we return false, then the behavior should be handled by ourselves. So for this case, we will handle the behavior if the given text field is same as the text field that's owned by this WebView controller. So if we will check that. If it is, then we will return false because we are going to handle the behavior here. And we will first resign as the first responder. And we will get the input from the user. So we will ask the text field to give us the input entered by the user, and then we will create a WebView URL from that text input. After that, we need to create a URL request because WebView requires a URL request in order to load the web page. So we'll create a URL request object using the given URL. And then we will inform the WebView to load the new URL request. Now let's go ahead and check if the WebView is loading the new URL as we enter 1 in the text field. Let's tap on the load web page. It's loading the URL, and then it's displaying the text of the URL in the text field. Now let's go ahead and change the URL to something else. Let's say gmail.com, and then let's tap on enter. So now it's loading the Gmail web page. So now things are working as expected. Now let's rotate the screen and see if the toolbar looks good in the rotated screen as well. The toolbar does not look good. It does not stretch all the way to the edges of the screen. Let's fix that. Let's go back to the code. So we have to fix two things here. One is the text field, another one is the toolbar itself. So now we need to change the positions of the width of the toolbar and the text field upon rotation. Since the UI bar button item does not inherit from UI view, we cannot use the layout constraints here. So we have to manually change the frame width. And every UI view controller has a view will transition to method. And this method gets invoked whenever there is a rotation. So let's leverage this one. So first invoke the super method, and then we will update the text fields frame. So we'll set the size and then we'll set the width to be the new size width. And then we will subtract 50 from it so that we give space for the left arrow. Similarly, we also want to change the toolbar's width as well. But since toolbar derives from the UI view, we can use the layout constraints there. So first, let's go ahead and create a variable called toolbar. And once the toolbar is added to the UI, added as a subview, we can set the layout constraints. So we'll set the top anchor to match that of the view anchor. So let's remove the constant there, and we don't need a bottom constraint. Rather, we are going to set a height anchor here. So we'll set the height anchor to be equal to that of a constant. We'll set it as 50. So now let's go ahead and check if the toolbar is stretching out as expected upon rotation. So now we are in the rotated screen. Let's enter a URL. So now the toolbar is getting stretched and the text field is also getting stretched. And if we rotate it, the toolbar again matches the width of the screen. So now things are looking good and working as expected. And that covers the session for today. See you all in a new video next time. Catch you later.